Welcome to our first video on loops, and the first loop that we'll look at is a for loop. There's actually three kinds of loops on the AP exam: the for loop, the while loop, and then a newer kind of for loop called the for each loop. So let's take the for loop first. The for loop has three distinct parts to it. At least most for loops have three distinct parts to them. Most while loops have three distinct parts to them. The first part in the for expression is the initialization. You initialize some kind of counting variable. Let's say you want to count from 1 to 10. We're going to count from 1 to 10. So we'll initialize some variable to our start number, 1, for us to count from 1 to 10. So we'll start at 1. We'll initialize the variable to 1. And then our Boolean expression is also sometimes called the control expression. The Boolean expression or control expression for a loop, because it controls the loop. It controls it. As long as the control expression is true, the loop continues to go. It continues to what's called iterate or keep on looping. Iterate or loop is the same thing. So we'll go I less than equal to 10. So as long as I is less than or equal to 10, we will continue to count. Now, how do we want to count? Do we want to count 1, 4, 7, 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9? We want to count just by ones. So we increment I each time. So we'll do an I plus plus. We could say I plus equals 1. That'd work. Or we could say I equals I plus 1. But boy, that increment operator sure is nice because it's so short. Just put I plus plus there. And so there's our three parts to a loop: the initialization, the control, and the step. And so to complete this thing, let's just display these numbers here. Make it look a little more normal. Don't need for all that extra spacing, of course. You can have it, but it's kind of weird. Open up a curly brace and out.println I. And that'll put the numbers 1 through 10 on the screen. Compile it, no problem. Run it, and 1 through 10. So that's the three parts of all of our loops. No matter if we're doing something really simple like counting, or if we're doing something more complicated toward the end of the labs maybe that you've seen so far, like going through a string, or int I equals 0, I less than some string dot length. They all have these three parts to them. Okay? At least all the beginning loops do, and most of the loops you write throughout the year will have these three parts. First part, initialization. Second part is control, which means just a Boolean expression, and then our step. Our step doesn't always have to be just by step by one, like increment. If you wanted to count see the odd numbers from 1 to 10, you can go I plus equals 2. And so what's I going to do? It's going to start at 1 and go 3, 5, 7, 9. When it gets to 11, it stops. Okay. If you want to see the even numbers from 2 to 10, you'd have to start at 2, go up to 10, and also increment or increase by 2 each time. That would display the numbers from 2 up to 10.